So our next speaker is a rock star, both literally and figuratively. He comes from the Santa Monica Mountains Fund, and he's worked for native plants in a lot of capacities, whether it's growing them, educating about them, or even writing lyrics about them through Sage Against the Machine. All right, welcome, Antonia Sanchez.
Hey, I'm excited and so nervous for this. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to do this, Denise. All these amazing people that I get to work with, that I get to speak with, and I just look out in the room and I think I know maybe a fourth of you, a third of you. Um, it's a pretty amazing thing. So I appreciate being part of this, and dragging my butt to do a new talk because I kind of give the same talk all the time. But I want to give thanks before I start to some California native folks that I got to interview for the later part of this talk. All my coworkers in the Santa Monica Mountains, all the native plant nurseries that I've gotten fired from, um, horticulturists, amazing. Just it almost brings it's emotional. Just the people that I've gotten to work around and learn from. And I believe our Oxnard high schoolers, our Oye Oxnard Young Colleges program, is watching right now from the National Park Service in by Calabaza. So what's up, SAMO Fund? Where's the camera at? What's up, Oye? Welcome. You guys are welcome. And look at all my beautiful, amazing coworkers that we get to do this work with. It's amazing what we've done together. So I get to run the native plant nursery in the Santa Monica Mountains. Um, I was hired on after the Woolsey fire. It came in 2018 and burned over 90,000 acres. And so I work for the Santa Monica Mountains Fund. We're on National Park Service land, so we're super close partners with the National Park Service. Um, and they hired me on. They said, "Hey, Antonio, let's grow some plants and collect some seed." And I'm all cool. I hope I can do that. I hope Carol has taught me well in my time at Theodore Payne and with Naomi at Rancho Santa Ana, which we still can't call it California Botanic Garden. Um, and cool. So the Santa Monica Mountains has over 500 species of native plants, and it kind of changed my perspective on growing because most of them are not viewed as nice plants for home gardens, and that's a little bit more of my background. Most of them we have no records on how to grow them, so I'm like freestyling. I'm very close to Google now, very close. But I like that we grow what native nature needs in a sense, or kind of what we think it might need. And just a little bit of my background, I come from farming. I went to school for sustainable ag at Santa Rosa Junior College, and farming is amazingly hard. It's rough work. But we tend to grow in farms what sells, what people know, and we have a lot of support usually when we're growing stuff, right? And I just want to give a shout out to Noe. Where we at? There you go. Noe, my girl from Yes Nursery. She paid me $50 to give this shout out. I'm just kidding. But there's no other nursery farm that I know of that's doing it more correct than you are, and you deserve as much support as you can get. So I strongly suggest that you support Yes Nursery because they're a leader in what we should be doing. And so after I got out of farming and went into native plant nurseries, I got to work at a bunch of amazing places. And native plant nurseries they're harder than farms. I'm not saying that farms. I'm not trying to knock on farms because it's ridiculously hard work. But there's a lot of support. Native plant nurseries became a lot harder because we're growing a lot of times stuff that people might be bringing from native nature and no one's ever tried to grow. It's cool. Penstemon citroensis. Cool. Let's try to grow it. Cool. It was a disaster. Right on. So there's a lot to learn, and I think that's kind of what makes it exciting. And in the Santa Monica Mountains, when I got there before, there wasn't really anyone dedicated when I got there to running the nursery. And so my boss, Joey Algiers, was growing probably about 1,000 to 5,000 plants a year, making a few dozen seed collections a year, mostly with interns, and it was a great program. The funding came in for the Woolsey fire, or for the restoration after the Woolsey fire, and we shot those numbers up really high. It's kind of stressful to look at those numbers. Holy jeez, I gotta put my glasses on. Is that right? Yep, that's right. Okay, and that's why I think I've aged. How much? I've aged a lot. Okay, so let's talk So we started growing plants specifically for recovery from the Woolsey fire, And as we've gotten better at growing the plants and as we've gotten more knowledge and our team has grown, I wanted to focus on the 4 projects that we kind of worked on the last 2 years. I forgot to say, Denise, can you let me know when I hit 12 minutes? Thank you. So these are the 4 projects. Narrowleaf milkweed, we had to grow 100,000 plants the last 2 years. Cactus scrub restoration, we did 30,000 plants the last year and a half. I want to get into all of these. And Denise said, why don't you talk about the challenges, Antonio, for growers? And I'm like, cool. When I hear the word challenges, that means the problems. And I get to complain. It's queja time. I get to say how hard this is, because this is hard. Some of the challenges that we face is the projects and the funding start whenever they want, which is weird. It's like having a restaurant and it's being open from like 10 a.m. to like 10 p.m. and the rush comes in at 2:30. If you ever worked at a restaurant before, you know, like everyone's all the morning shift is gone. They're out smoking in the back, and then the night shift hasn't even come in. So we get funding whenever. It's really, really hard to adapt. Sometimes we have no seed to work with. We get the funding. We got to go collect the seed. We have a really short window to collect sometimes of the seed. We have an even shorter window sometimes to get the plants ready to plant out. I don't know how to germinate half this stuff. Google doesn't know either. I don't know how to grow. Sometimes it's really easy to germinate something, but it's really hard to grow it. And then the national park, our nursery is completely outdoors. It freezes almost every night. Our PVC pipes will burst. It's a hard nursery to grow at. So the narrowleaf milkweed project, like I said, we do 50,000 for the public and 50,000 for restoration in the park. And that's the time frame. I believe we have an ex-monarca here. Once a monarca, always a monarca. And so we need to collect the seed. And if you guys know anything about milkweed seed, it's dehiscent, or it likes to just have a party. And when it's ready, it goes. And so it's not that easy to collect. I mean, I don't think most seed is that easy to collect. But we had to collect seed from native nature, from the Santa Monica Mountains, and 50,000 plants. Cool. But most of that seed isn't good. Or I would say a lot of it's not good, if we want to put it that way. If you buy a seed pack of arugula at the store, 100 seed, you should have like 112 germinate. I don't know how 112 germinate, but it's perfect. And we have 100 seed sown and we get like 4 sometimes. It turns out that milkweed wants really warm days to germinate, which is hard to do when our nursery freezes every night. And so we have to wait sometimes till March, April, even May to get our plants going, which means that we have a limited window, et cetera, et cetera. It turns out monarch caterpillars really like to eat milkweed, and we can't really poison them. I tried to, and I'm just kidding. We can't really keep them off the plants. I mean, we can, but it's just when we're growing 50,000 plants, it's a lot. And so the good news is that we collected over 5 pounds in the last 2 years for future projects, and now we have a mother seed farm. And I want to give you this is our seed farm. We have 2 seed farms now. We have a 1-acre seed farm in Paramount Ranch and a 5-acre seed farm that's being planted today by Newberry Park. There's some of my beautiful coworkers planting. And so we did a cactus scrub restoration. Cactus scrub, usually south-facing, west-facing hills close to the coast. And the funding came in super last minute. We're like, okay, let's go survey these hills. And so we surveyed 7 different hills, and we found all these species that we wanted to grow. And I'm glad that we cut it off at about this mark. You guys can see where we cut it off, because the ones that only occurred in 2 or 1 spot are some of the hardest plants to grow. There's some soap plant on there. There's some really hard. I'm like, oh, I hope we don't have to grow this. But even some of these were hard to grow. If you guys know anything about these plants, the seed collection times for these the window is huge. And so there's about an 8-month window to collect these seeds. And we were told to start this March 2023 and have the plants ready by fall 2023. Like, okay, cool. And so I aged another 5 years in that. And the plants are hard. Why are plants so stupid? I love the plants, but they're so hard. The good thing is we extended the program, so we got 2 years to grow everything. Verbena lasiostachys. I'm actually going to stop the talk now. Does anybody know how to grow this by seed? It's easy by cutting, but what the hell, such a weed? What the hell? Opuntia littoralis. Oh my God, that's easy we love, I eat nopales. Like, it's not the same plant, but it's so easy to grow, chop and drop. But the Opuntia littoralis by seed is another 5 years added onto my life, or taken off my life. And then we got hit up for the SAMO seed farm. We're like, hey, let's start up a seed farm. And I'm stupid enough to say, yeah, let's do it. And we didn't have to grow these last year, but I like to just kind of take the extra step. Let's do it. So we grew 30,000 live plants to put into these two different farms. And so we started this last January, and the first plants went in last spring, and we're lucky enough to have harvested our first crops this past summer and fall. We got some Asclepias, some Stipa. It's really, really cool. Um, but again, we had a really short schedule to get all these out. And sometimes we get these grants and these projects start during the busiest time of year. It's like Valentine's Day at the Olive Garden, right? And it's packed. And then a wedding party comes in, like, no, God. So we had all of this coming in during the summer, which is when it's hottest and the plants are needing the most water and et cetera, et cetera. And so the good thing is that some of these dates were flexible. It wasn't just November. Sometimes these contracts have to be out in November. So we had about November to March. So they're planning them this week and through March. So it was nice that we had some flexibility. And we started cloning some of the plants. So we started taking stipa that maybe we only had 10,000 seed for, only 2,000 germinated. So we need 10,000 stipa. We only got 2,000 stipa. So we started dividing plants. And I felt comfortable doing that, which normally we wouldn't do. We'd want to grow everything by seed. But I felt comfortable doing that, knowing that we had 2,000 unique genetic individuals, and now we can divide them. It's not how we should do things in the future, but it helped us get through. And we did cuttings once we had enough deerweed. Maybe we had 3 or 4,000 deerweed. We're taking cuttings of deerweed, lotus or acmispon, whatever you want to call it. What's that? Were you guys waiting? I'm like, hey, what's up? It's Denise. So there's the seed farm, and the last one is Pedicina leonii. Was that 12 minutes? Okay, cool. So this is Pennicutia leonii. This is our rare. Oh man, you want to get scared? Rare plants. Holy Jesus! How do you grow them? There was only one person that we knew of that knew how to grow this that we could find. We called them up, and turns out she had passed away. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. She came to the nursery. That's messed up. I was waiting to tell that joke. That's so messed up. And it was a disaster. But we took 20,000 seed, and we collected over 500,000 seed from those 20,000 seed, and we now know how to grow it. So we're learning stuff, but it's really, really hard. We figured Pennicutia leonii germinates in the winter, and we tried it during the winter, and it's probably way too cold in our nursery for it to germinate. Maybe where it's at in Rocky Oaks is much, much more moderate or more mild. So things that we've learned, we want to be more reactive, or I'm sorry, more proactive. So we want to start making these lists and start having all this stuff seed bank so we don't have to move so quickly. We want longer projects instead of shorter projects. The 1 year, 2 year projects are killing us. They're so hard to do, especially if we had a bad year for collecting seed. We lose a whole year. The community partnerships are so important that we can help state parks out, MRCA. So I think we're starting to build those, and those are really, really important. Reaching out, since we have such a limited staff, and most of these grants and these funding, we don't actually get funding for people on a lot of them. And so our partnerships with the master gardeners and building up our volunteer bases and training them has been huge. And then just trying different propagation methods and maybe eventually trying tissue culture. But I wanted to switch gears. I don't know how to switch gears in this. I'm just going to switch. I'm just put the brakes on. We were driving automatic, and now we're going to drive stick, because I need to ask all of us who work with native plants if we are holding space for not just California native people, but I think a different way of looking at plants. A lot of us have been talking about science, botany, herbarium, Jepson's. It's all amazing, amazing work. But are we holding space for people who need it, and for different ways of looking at the world? I got to speak to 3 different people that I consider close friends in the California native, with California native blood. And I'm not going to call out their quotes, but I'm going to work their thoughts into this. But imagine being used to collecting plants, and when you go to collect plants, you give thanks, and then being paid to do that and not being able to give thanks. How how hard is that? That's almost like telling someone, like we used to in growing up, like you see an accident, my mom participates in, right? Like and not being able to, right? So I got into native plants through food. Honey mesquite. I remember calling my tia up in Coahuila in the Chihuahuan Desert and asking her what folks used to eat. What did you guys used to eat? And she told me, we used to eat honey mesquite, the vaina, the pod. And it took me down this road, and it made me feel very at home, knowing that I was here in Oxnard, I was here in the 805 in California, and that just maybe 100 miles away was the same plant that my mom used to eat. Maybe not the same conditions, but I could feel at home. And so that took me down a road of going to Sweat Lodge, finding out white sage, opening up my own native plant nursery. That was a disaster. And then starting to work with a bunch of native plant people. And I feel like some of us look at it as a puzzle. Like we know that things are missing. We know that the puzzle's there, but we have some pieces missing, and sometimes we're just trying to piece it together. And I think one of the biggest ones is fire, right? Traditional ecological knowledge. One brother that I talked to who grew up in Carpinteria said that his dad would point to the hills and said that hill hasn't burned in 70 years. When it burns, it needs to burn, and that it finally did burn. A celebration that it burned, and he went up and he saw what he thought were old gardens of Brodea and Chia. He's like, it looks like people used to plant this there. And there was a puntia that was revealed that he didn't even know that was up there. And another person that I talked to, I love herbarium. Like the first time she ever took an herbarium sample, which is clipping a stem, just freaking out and go, what are we doing? Why are we doing this to the plant? And so understanding that because we have this goal of science and DNA and all these beautiful things, and I love herbaria, but maybe to explain it or to be able to open the door for something a little bit more whole, right? And I remember feeling the same when I first saw corn being germinated at school, like on these peaches. I'm, what? Those plants are, why are they naked? And who gets the first seed? Do we go out and collect seed, or does native nature get the first take and we only get what's left? As a seed manager, you might be pissed, like, no, we need to get the highest quality seed, but maybe the highest quality seed isn't for us. And what time of year is it? This is my Google Calendar. Oh, there's another 5 years on my life. Holy Jesus. But instead of looking at the calendar like this, maybe we get to look at the calendar in terms of plants. Like we know it's the short season or the cold season, the wet season, because the toyon is turning colors. We know that it's late summer because we're harvesting yucca. And at the park now, we know what time of year it is because we're cleaning seed, and it's December. We're cleaning all of our seed. And one thing that was beautiful as a horticulturist, one of the guys said, there's an amazing elderberry project going on right now where they're trying to domesticate and get native elderberry into a more food crop, or to make it more of a food crop. And he said, I want to be able to teach people how to tend the elderberry. And as maybe an arborist or somebody who works with plants, you want a cut to heal, especially manzanitas, you come into the winter and you want that plant to heal. And he said, we want to teach people how to make a healing cut. And I'm all, hold up. You're going to make me cry. You're going to talk about a cut that's healing. And so to be able to look at the world poetically and differently, and to be able to give thanks, and everyone, including myself that I spoke with, said that we're nothing without teaching this to our children. And it doesn't matter how old you are, right? As a child, like as long as your mind is like a child, it's hard to forget who you are if you knew who you were growing up. And if you were California growing up, you're going to want to defend California. And one of the brothers I talked to said, I know the smell of the sycamores and the creeks, and harm to the sycamores is harm to me. And I'm like, the creosote bush, when it rains in the desert where I grew up, I know that smell, and you can't defend what you don't know. So I'll ask the question again: are we, as managers, as coworkers, holding space for not just Native California people and these ideas, but for a lot of younger folks who want to see the world not just as an herbarium sample, which are amazing, but they want to see that plant alive, like my girl Naomi said, like the spirit. And so I would invite you all to interact. There's out in Riverside County, there's the Malkin Museum that opens their doors every year for an agave roast. There's amazing work being done in the LA area with black walnuts. And truth and the right way are truth and the right way, no matter who practices them. It doesn't matter where you're from. If you're in California, we're going to stand up for California. And so I just need to give thanks again. I get to do amazing work, and I'm just so proud of all of my coworkers and what we've done. And if anybody's interested in joining us, you can find us at SAMO Fund in Newbury Park through Eventbrite. And thanks, Denise. Oh, damn, I went too fast. Right on. that was that's the most nervous I've been for a talk in like 3 years. That's awesome. Cool. I love it. Oh, yes.
So you commented a lot about the strikes of not knowing how to grow or germinate different things, and I've experienced something similar since I did germination for my graduate project.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we get better at, like, if you find out something about how to germinate this one species, how can we get better at sharing that so it's more like here's the cost?
Yeah.
The
Can we take another question? So Rancho Santa Ana, California Botanic Garden, in the last, I think, 6 or 7 years, shared online for free their data, like their spreadsheets of probably the last 30, 40 years of germination. I think it's like 6 to 10,000 trials. Yeah, yeah. So you can find that on there. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I think we need we were talking, this is a few years back. We've gotten so busy with the seed farm and stuff, but maybe we need to take it up about having Naomi and I got to organize the California Native Food Symposium in 2015. It was amazing. We had a lot of Native folks there, a lot of non-Native. We had food. It was just a great 2 days, and we didn't get a chance to do that anymore. I left Rancho in 2016, but some of us were talking about doing something similar with California growers, right? And I know a lot of folks who do this for a living, they don't, and they have to pay the bills. You don't want to share your secrets, right? Once you crack the code of like how to do Dendromicon harfordia or whatever. But there's a lot of us who don't care. We just want to share that knowledge. So, and the National Park Service has been super supportive of almost everything we do. So maybe it's time to take that up. Maybe it's time for us to do. We do host California Native folks every year. They come out every year in June for 2 days, and we show them how to collect seed. We show them how to take herbarium samples, how to do all sorts of stuff. And at the first year that we had it, we had, I believe, 2 tribes come with us. And the last time this past year, we had over 20 people there. And so every year we'll host them. And it's not something we announce, it's just something that we do, right? So I think the national parks are a pretty good spot to do stuff in, right? And I'm finding that out. It's almost like a Walmart. I feel like some people go to Walmarts for medicine, right? And some people go for like shoes, and some people go for beer. Like the national parks are there, I think, for us to use. And I feel like we're coming in, and this is what we want to do. We want to open it up to more Native folks, to more propagators, right? And we've been able to do that. It's pretty cool. But I don't. That was a really bad way of answering. I have no idea. God, that was a bad answer.
Do you take all your germination notes? Like you have a notebook with?
Did you guys hear that question? No, we want to know how to germinate Cannabis californica. Is that? Do we have propagation notes? Anyone who's worked with me knows, hell no. They're all up here. But that's part of having more funding and having more people that we need to take all that down, because, yeah, we're going to be gone soon, and we should leave this with people.
There is a group working through the Fire Science Center around the country, and they develop Western forbs. So for the forbs,
Nice.
they are collecting and making that available online, and I can't find it right now, but I'll get you the information.
If you guys didn't hear that, she knows how to grow Cannabis californica. So it's more of a hydroponic situation, but I'm so blessed. You know what? I wanted to say this. There's so many different ages here, and I think everyone works with native plants or wants to work with native plants. I'm sorry to cuss, but fucking thank you guys for the work you're doing, and give yourselves a round of applause, because this is amazing that you guys are here. You guys, I hope you all do amazing work and continue to do. And those who I've learned from and stolen from, thank you, because I'm very, very lucky.